Greetings, citizens! You're now trapped in a nerd cage with your hosts Marq and Jay. We hope you have a smashing good time.
Hello and welcome. That's right, you're trapped in NerdCage Live. This ain't just a reaction show, but a debate show and a live discussion on everything that makes people like you and I tick. So thank you for joining us. Please hit that like button and subscribe. I'm your co-host Jay St. G, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York, and always with me, the warrior for Wakanda, the fiend from Louisville, my man, Marq Withers. What's shaking?
Hey, what's going on, man? Super excited to be here as usual. And yes, today is our very first official podcast for 2021. So we are beyond hyped for this. And what more fitting way to sort of kick this off than to do a good old fashioned rapid fire episode. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with these rapid fires, what we try to do is pack as many topics as we can inside of 30 minutes. Now, sometimes we can do that and sometimes we can't, but we always do our best. Let's see how we do today. So first up, WandaVision. Now, I did a not a spoiler discussion. I did a spoiler-free review that's available on YouTube right now if you want to go check that out. But I sort of enjoyed it. I had some problems with it, but I wanted to see what you thought. I know that you didn't really get a chance to watch it, Jay, but I kind of wanted to get your opinion on the concept of the show itself. What do you think?
Well, apparently it's been split, it's split audiences down the middle here, and we're hearing a whole bunch of things right now. So I feel like they're probably building up to something. And of course, they're really leaning hard into the start of what we think of the multiverse and the Marvel side. So I guess it might be a little too early. There's too much mystery to it right now.
Right. And I think that there are plenty of Easter eggs for people who are familiar with the comics, right? So there are some sword references. There's a reference to AIM. There's a reference to Mephisto. But if you're not familiar with comics, there's a lot that's probably going to go over your head. I mean, there was plenty that actually went over my head, and I'm familiar with a lot of the stuff. The other major complaint that I had kind of echoes what Jeremy Johns said on his review of the first two episodes, which is that it relies very, very heavily on you being familiar with Wanda and Vision inside of the MCU. So if you've not seen like some of the Avengers stuff, if you've not watched like Captain America Civil War, some of the interaction within the sitcom is not going to make a whole lot of sense to you. It's just going to read like a bad sitcom. And so for that, I think it kind of, I kind of look at that as sort of like a weak point in the show. But we are only in the first two episodes. They've definitely got room for growth, room for development. So I'm going to continue to watch it, and hopefully it does kind of pick up steam.
My last thought on this before we move on to our next topic, do you think this works as a miniseries, or do you think there's going to be more seasons, or do you think this would have been better as a movie? What do you think?
It's tough to say at this point because we've seen so little of the underlying theme of the story. It's really just, at this point, just a tribute to 50s and 60s television. There's not really a subplot that's really been revealed. So it's hard to say if it would work better as a feature or if this is something that you could flesh out over like multiple seasons.
So keeping it in the Marvel universe, we're hearing all but confirmed that Chris Evans is signing on to do what, 2 more appearances in the MCU?
At least one is what has been reported in Deadline. It's not specified whether that's going to be like a Captain America feature or an Avengers feature, but they've said that he's in talks at least to do at least one more feature with the door being open to doing more.
Okay, I just, I kind of have a problem with this. Couple things. One, I feel like Captain America's story arc has definitely concluded, and I'm ready to move on. The other problem I have is, like, does this tell me that Disney and Marvel don't have confidence in their upcoming movies, such as, like, The Eternals, Shang-Chi, and some of these other ones that they have to bring back, Captain America?
that's totally possible, right? I mean, that was my initial thought when I kind of heard this news. Now, it's worth noting that Chris Evans himself has gone on Twitter and said that the entire thing is news to him. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're wrong. All the major trades have been kind of like talking about this. We know that Marvel and DC both have histories of actors saying one thing and then it turns out to be another thing. So it's still highly probable that these talks are taking place. But my initial thought was that, okay, maybe Marvel is going back to a familiar sort of cornerstone character to sort of bolster this next phase, because we really don't have like a centerpiece yet for the next phase. But then I thought, you know, we've got some of these MCU shows like Falcon and Winter Soldier. We've got Loki, you know, as far as the features go, we've got Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. And so there's a possibility that he might show up in one or all of these things. My money is on him showing up in Loki, since we know that this is sort of a time travel, sort of a time cop based storyline. It's possible that maybe Loki goes back to the 40s or goes back to the 50s during a time where Steve Rogers has decided to return and stay with Peggy to see what goes on during that time period. You know, the possibilities really are endless, but until we get a little more information, I mean, who knows?
Could be interesting. And we got one more bit of Marvel news, again, not 100% confirmed, that Charlie Cox, Daredevil, is going to be in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because, you know, we know that Netflix kind of put a moratorium on all these characters and sort of there was a proviso in the contract with Marvel that these characters could not be used for 2 years. So I know that the contract, as far as like that 2-year limit, has already expired. But we've, you know, sort of expected Feige to bring Daredevil into the MCU, but a different version of Daredevil, not Charlie Cox's version. So this news is a little bit surprising. A couple of things worth noting. So this story sort of originated on a podcast called the Phase Zero podcast, where the host of that has said that he has sources that are on set at Spider-Man 3 that have confirmed that Charlie Cox is part of the production and that he's finished wrapping. But what hasn't been specified is he in Spider-Man 3 as Daredevil, or is he playing another character? Another question is, maybe he was on set, but maybe he wasn't part of the film. Maybe he was just visiting the set. You know, Disney hasn't confirmed anything. So while a number of trades are kind of running with the story, there's no like definitive answer from Kevin Feige or anybody at Marvel or Disney about this. So we'll just have to wait and see what kind of unfolds.
Absolutely. So now let's shift gears over to Godzilla versus Kong.
Right.
This was a bomb that dropped last week. And of course, the kaiju community was going nuts. So it is confirmed. Yes, Godzilla vs. Kong is still going to be on HBO Max, part of the whole Warner Brothers film slate deal for 2021. And they did settle that lawsuit with Legendary. And that deal was Godzilla vs. Kong will stay on streaming while Dune will go to theaters, which is terrific. But Godzilla vs. Kong was originally coming out May 21st, and now it's moving forward to March 26th. Color me excited. However, no trailer to be found other than a 2-second clip of something that leaked before on an HBO Max promo. So, Mark, what are your thoughts?
So this kind of falls, for me, this kind of falls under the category of I will believe it when I see it. So the dates for this have moved around so many times. There's been so much drama around this film that, you know, you don't know what to believe. So until it gets like really close and we actually do start to see trailers and we start to see some hype for it from HBO Max, then I'll believe it. But until then, I'm like, well, we'll see what they say next week.
Yeah, well, I'm excited just to the fact that at least this is definitely happening. We did see a 2-second clip. I'm sure we'll get a Super Bowl, a trailer during the Super Bowl or something. But I'm glad we're getting it early, if it is indeed true. And if it is in fact true, we will have to do a watch party of some sort when this comes out.
Absolutely.
I'm very much looking forward to it. I know I'm going in with low expectations. I really don't feel like the studio has faith in this movie, which is why this movie's kind of getting the shaft, it seems. But you know what? Either way, I'm here all for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's curious that they've moved it up as opposed to pushing it back. You know, usually when a studio doesn't have faith in a film, they try to like push it back so that they have more time to make changes or to do whatever they need to do. I don't know what this says about the film necessarily, you know, like pushing it forward. Maybe they do have a lot of confidence in it. Or it could be a situation where, you know, maybe it's filling in a gap where something else needs to be moved and they need something to sort of keep subscribers interested.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because this is a perfect segue into our next topic. That with Godzilla vs. Kong coming out March 26th, remind you, Zack Snyder, it wasn't the studio, it was Zack Snyder said that Justice League was going to be coming out March 25th.
Right.
So, I don't know if we're getting both movies or if Justice League's getting movies. So, speaking of Justice League.
Right.
Initially, this was going to be a 4-hour miniseries. Now it's going to be a 4-hour long movie dropping on HBO Max. We haven't got the official date. Originally, we were told from Zack Snyder March 25th. Now, let's see if that still holds true. What are your thoughts of now this being a full movie instead of a 4-hour miniseries?
I gotta admit, it's a puzzling move. I think that you know, the idea or the concept of like kind of making this a mini series and breaking it up into multiple episodes would have been better for the channel, right? It would have been better if you could take this and break it up into weekly segments to keep people talking, to keep people interested. But that said, maybe there were like reasons in terms of the story arc and the pacing and having it flow a certain way where it didn't lend itself well to a series. I trust that Snyder, like wanting to get it right this time, has just sort of decided like, look, you know, let's just make it a 4-hour long film. And if people just kind of want to watch it in segments that way, they can. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah. To wrap my thoughts on this particular topic here is, remember, it was announced it was going to be a mini-series, what was it, like back when the DC Fandom came out, and that was before all the movies dropped, Warner Brothers movies dropped on 2021. I think that's the main reason why. I feel like maybe Warner Brothers and HBO Max decided, hey, we don't have to do a mini-series now. We can just release the movie because we have plenty of content coming out every month. We don't have to spread out these episodes. That's what I think. I think that was the main decision of why to do it. You know what? I'm all for it, and I'm glad that it's going to be Zack Snyder's vision realized in a 4-hour cut. I am there.
Right on. And now that I think about it, I think that there may be a cost issue too, because we know that initially they said $30 million was going to be the budget, then it was 70, then it was 100. And so maybe to sort of mitigate these costs, they kind of scaled back the idea of production and kind of changed their plans on that. So it's anybody's guess. I'm sure that those details will unfold soon.
Absolutely. And next, this is the news that made me fall out of my chair. I never thought I would get this excited on pictures released from Entertainment Weekly. So we finally got a first look at the Mortal Kombat reboot. No trailer, but enough content in there just made me fall out of my chair. Mark, please give me your thoughts on all the Mortal Kombat news that just blew up the internet.
Yeah, so I'm with you on this one, man. Like normally, as you know, the idea of like a rating or like a gore level or a violence level in a film makes very little difference to me if there's no story. This is the exception. With Mortal Kombat, you have to have the fatalities. You've got to have the violence. You've got to have everything that's shocking and mighty about it. And these pictures kind of confirm that we're going to get a taste of the real thing this time, as opposed to the 95 film, which I love, by the way. But this kind of gives us an idea of the overall tone and feel of what this movie is going to be about. We also got a cast reveal as far as like who's going to play what role. And that was really interesting too. You know, we find out that Lewis Tan is actually going to be playing a brand new character that's not part, at least as I understand it, he's not a part of any of the games. Is that right?
A brand new character named Cole. And shout out to Titan Goji, because he brought us some good points on Twitter. Because we said for months that we all initially thought that the rumors were that Lewis Tan was going to be Johnny Cage. And I thought he's the ideal, he's perfect for a new Johnny Cage. And this character Cole that he's playing has all the traits of Johnny Cage, except instead of being a washed up actor, he's a washed up MMA fighter.
Right.
So I have to tend to agree that I think this is kind of a missed opportunity to have him play Johnny Cage, and Johnny Cage is nowhere to be found in this movie. But I will definitely give it a chance. And looking at the other characters, despite the Steve Harvey memes, I still feel that based on the pictures, a lot of care was put into the look and the feel of these characters, and I am stoked.
Right. I agree. While, you know, some of the casting initially like had me in doubt, after seeing some of these pictures and some of the screen grabs and stuff like that, it really kind of allayed some of those fears for me, you know, particularly like the picture of Sub-Zero and Scorpion, like before they become Sub-Zero and Scorpion, like that is, you know, it made me like,
which we never got in the first movie, by the way.
Right. That's that is the one thing that I was anticipating in the original movie that was like a huge disappointment we never got. Well, here we're going to get that. And so just seeing that one picture alone got me really hyped. So I for one can't wait for this thing.
And along with that, in that Godzilla versus Kong footage that we got, we also did get footage of Sub-Zero making the icicle there. So but yeah, we are here for it, and yes, it's going to be April 16th, and yes, we will do a watch party on this channel. Master Pacino says he's on board with that. Speaking of Master Pacino, great segue. He recommended a really, really great movie. It was called In Full Bloom. He shared it with you, and then you shared it with me, and I took the time to watch it on Amazon Prime, and I absolutely loved it. So real quick, In Full Bloom, highly recommend it if you want. It's a boxing movie that takes place in post World War II. An American boxer, light heavyweight, by the way, he agrees to a fight with a fighter in Japan, and it's supposed to be a fixed fight because he made a deal with the Yakuza. But the fighter, he doesn't want to lose. He wants to go in and fight to win. So it brings a really, really great dynamic, and we get a great training montage. We sympathize for both fighters, and cinematography is beautiful. The symbolism is there. The fight is a excellent finale. Highly recommend it. If you're anyone who's a fan of martial arts and boxing, this is a must watch.
Yeah, the trailer definitely got me interested in it. I've been so busy the past like few weeks that I haven't really had time to sit down and watch this one, but it's definitely on my list, and hearing from you that it is as good as it looks definitely makes me more excited about it.
Yeah, I will say this. So when you deal with a movie with martial artists, you gotta like understand that the acting won't be on par to like, you know, your standard Hollywood acting and whatnot. So I will say this: the acting is not the best per se, but again, what we have in the lack of acting, we totally makes up for it in the cinematography and the fight.
Absolutely.
Just go in knowing like, okay, these are martial artists. The acting's limited, but man, again, you're in for a treat. I'd say solid 7.5 out of 10. Solid.
Sounds good. So last but not least, we need to talk about No Time to Die. What are your thoughts on the current situation with that?
I feel like God hates me or something. I've been so excited for this movie, and every time we get close to the release, it gets bumped, and it's just killing me, man. I don't want to see the Bond franchise die like this, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty demoralizing. Granted, they didn't move it like a whole year, but it just concerns me because I feel like I just have a feeling that it's gonna get bumped again. I mean, sooner or later, like some streaming service is gonna come along and dish out the money for it. That's just Mark. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I have a few thoughts on it. I mean, for one thing, Barbara Broccoli, is that how you pronounce her name? So she has been pretty adamant that this film not go to streaming. I believe that, you know, because so much money was spent on it and because they know the potential that can be made in a theatrical release in the proper environment, she still believes that it's worth it to wait as opposed to just kind of selling it. There have been multiple attempts to try to buy this by different streaming services, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple Plus, I believe just tendered an offer that was rejected. And so I think that this is going to continue to be moved. The big question for me, though, is do all of these moves diminish the anticipation for this movie over time, or do they sort of exacerbate that? You know, do they have the opposite effect? Do they make us want to see it more? I, for one, want to see it more since it was first announced. When it was originally planned to be released, I was like, you know, I could take it or leave it. But as time has kind of gone on, I've been like, you know what? I really do want to see this movie now. I can't wait to see it now.
Listen, I have the utmost confidence this movie is going to be great. I've seen enough. All the trailers have been fantastic. I am sold. I'm a Bond fan. This is Daniel Craig's swan song. Rami Malek playing the villain.
Yes.
Like everything is set in motion for this to be the perfect Bond movie, the perfect send off to Daniel Craig. And it's killing me, man. And like I'm not saying that my patience is wearing thin. It was just demoralizing for me when this news dropped. Was I surprised? No, because Sony also said that Morbius was being bumped too. I understand Sony doesn't want to stream their properties. I get that. But it's just this movie's been bumped so many times and we've already seen footage. It's just like, I just want to see it. I don't, at this point, like, I would prefer to see it in the theater, but I would not mind seeing it on streaming because you know what? My dad's a Bond fan too, and he can't make it to a theater. So I am not against this going to streaming, but hopefully this will be the last time it will get bumped. But I have a feeling it will get bumped again.
Yeah, I'm kind of bracing for that as well. And on that note, I think that caps our rapid fire. So hopefully we got there. Hopefully we got there inside of 30 minutes.
So real quick, before we wrap this up here, we just want to say that 2021 is loaded with a lot of good milestone lookbacks. And we're going to say right now, our next look back is going to be the 20th anniversary of 30th anniversary of Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
And along with that, it's also the 20th anniversary of Hannibal, which came out in August. But February marks the 30th anniversary of Silence of the Lambs. I'm really looking forward to digging into that movie deep, as well as Hannibal and all the other projects that were tied in with the Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal franchise.
Yeah, I agree. You know, that movie, you know, pretty much terrified me as a young man, you know, watching it when it was first released. I can't wait to dig back into this film and see if it sort of brings up some of those same feelings as it did that long ago, and to sort of dig into sort of the history of the production of this film. It's going to be super interesting, so I can't wait.
As well, one more thing too is we are excited about our upcoming live streams. On the 21st, Mark's friend Todd Annabelli, who is a rock photographer and has a lot of great stories from a lot of big name musicians, including Eddie Van Halen. I'm really looking forward to chopping up with him. And Adam from Scribe Productions will be coming the following Thursday on the 28th. And then on the 4th, I'm very excited. Ill Will, the drummer from Body Count, is joining NerdCage Live for a live Q&A. Holy smokes, man. Talk about a great way to start 2021. Absolutely. You know, you and I are both huge Body Count fans, and to sort of have Ill Will in studio with us is going to be amazing. I absolutely can't wait. I have a ton of questions for him. I know that you do too. Yes.
So anybody else that is a huge fan like we are that wants to ask him anything, check us out on that date.
Absolutely. Again, February 4th. So before we go, we ask you to pretty please like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell and spread that shit like syphilis. So what do you say? From Louisville to Syracuse and to all of our fans and friends around the world at NerdCage Live, enjoy life, stay safe, and good night.
Sayonara.
Ooh, trying to get out of the nerd cage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!